Okay, it's the end of the 2 o'clock turn, and a lot of cavalry activity this turn, way out here on the western flank. The French went first, and they activated first, and they crossed around here, tried to charge the British cavalry who were based around here. They had some success, routed some of the British units who are, I think, off in the distance. Also routed one remaining Spanish unit that was here. I think the French then activated second as well with this other group of cavalry, and they moved up around, I think, to try and finish off what was left of the British at that point. The Portuguese then responded, and they came charging in to charge the exhausted French cavalry, and they had some marginal success. A lot of bounces throughout here. I think the French have a slight upper hand, mainly because they have more cavalry in the area, but the arrival of the Portuguese means that they don't quite control out this western side of that Arroyo, and British cavalry still in the region, so holding out and protecting that western flank of the Allied force. The Spanish assaulting here routed another Spanish unit as expected, but we had our first taste of a French assault on the British lines, and the French failed in their assault. The British held firm, as you can see here. One French battalion routed, the other disrupted. What else is happening? That was it, just mainly out here in the southwest, west. French artillery still doing a lot of damage. And that's it. Oh, some British down here, just shifting their line around to face the south, just behind a little stream there. So they've got a pretty good defensive position here to confront the French when they come, probably in the next turn or two. That's the end of the 2 o'clock turn, so it's now 2:20 p.m. All right, it's the end of the 2:20 p.m. turn. This is a pretty quiet turn. The French activated some of their cavalry out the far left here just to move up on the left and join this engagement taking place out here. The French also attempted, Gerard's Corps activated, moved up a little. They tried one assault on the Portuguese out here on the far left, which failed terribly. Portuguese standing their ground quite strong, and the French routed behind the lines. Elsewhere, it was pretty quiet. More French artillery doing damage, which is kind of what they're hoping to do before their infantry move in. And there's only one Spanish activation. I think they moved some cavalry up. And the Portuguese, that was what happened down here. The British sent their activation to the Portuguese, who moved up to the far right of their line. And that's about it. It was a pretty quiet turn. More Spanish raw infantry have left the field now, so they won't make their way back on. Portuguese are now pretty well set up in the bottom here, and they're about to move against the French out here on the far right. But that's about it. A pretty quiet turn for the 2:20 turn. It's now just on 2:40 p.m. It's the end of the 2:40 p.m. turn, and this is a clear, actually it was cloudy, a cloudy turn, but there was no effect on movement or fire. Nonetheless, it was a pretty quiet turn. There was no cavalry activity out in the far west. Very quiet, actually. We had World's infantry down here setting up. We had Vare's grenadiers pushing back the British skirmishers in front of the line here. And we had the Portuguese assault the French down in the east, down the bottom here, with some success. They routed one French battalion and disrupted the other, which was quite unexpected. I thought the French would be able to send out to the Portuguese, but they didn't. that was about it. Now, behind the lines, as I said earlier, the Spanish have made their way back after routing fairly earlier. And they're beginning to reform. So they've got a lot of depth behind the lines here. You've got the British in the front here, 4th Division, 2nd Division out on the left here, some Portuguese behind the lines. And yeah, the Spanish started to make their way just to back up those lines. So although the French had some early success, they've really slowed down their assault. So I don't think Gerard activated this turn. Instead, he's having much success with his artillery. The French artillery here has eliminated another British unit. And they're happy with that. No point risking the infantry in assaults if the artillery at such close range can do so much damage. Ideally, the British would like to pull back from here. They don't really want... This is open ground here. You can see pretty flat terrain. The British don't want to be sitting here in front of this French artillery. But what other choice do they have? They could pull back, but then the artillery could just follow them up. It's a very strong battery along here. It does about 50 strength points of artillery fire. Now it's clear weather. They're firing at full strength. So the weather has really just worked against the British. When they wanted to fire, it was cloudy, and now they don't want the French to fire, and it's cleared up. So yeah, that's the end of the 2:40 p.m. turn. The French assault has slowed down, but they continue to hurt the Allied positions with a number of their artillery, their guns that are set up along the centre west of this line. There we go.